All right. Welcome everyone to How to Be a Superhero, the Superhero Show. I'm super excited today to welcome my guest, Joe Stapleton. He is one of my absolute best friends from high school. So we're going back a little ways, and he's
Not
an
hey, not
absolute
that far back.
yeah, yeah, just a year or two ago. Um, and he's a fantastic human being who has supported me for everything that I've done, uh, supported me as a person, and I couldn't be more excited to have him on. So thank you so much, Joe, for coming on the show.
You're welcome. And what a great superhero lesson we have already. When Mike says that I've supported him over the years and everything he's done, he makes it sound like I've done a lot. Like I just press retweet sometimes. I'll be like, hey, share. It's like 3 clicks. It takes 5 seconds, which is a great superhero lesson that to support someone and to make them feel good takes almost no effort whatsoever. Like it's so easy to do to just be nice to people.
I can completely agree. I think that's a huge point. And well, that's why I think, even just saying hi to people is such a huge deal because it really doesn't take a whole lot, for you to do that, as far as energy, but it just makes such a big difference. And you're right. Even
Well,
just when you support me with retweeting my stuff or just even liking something in mine or giving me like a little comment, that goes a long way.
it does go a long way. And if we could look at the converse, right? The converse of this, not the sneaker, but the opposite of this is it takes so much more effort to be a jerk. It's way harder. Like you have to really work hard to be a jerk to somebody. It's so much easier just to be the superhero.
That is true. Although sometimes it does seem to come naturally to some people. But
Oh yeah,
yeah,
look, I do it all the time, right? Like I very often act like a jerk, and I freely admit that it is way easier to do nothing and only slightly less easy, or considerably easier, but not zero effort to do something nice.
well, I think that's a really good point, and thanks for bringing that up. It just a little bit goes a really long way.
Like,
All right, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do, your background, and all that good stuff?
yes, I am a television poker commentator. Basically, when you see poker on TV in a bar, I'm one of the voices they have on mute. Except probably not really, because it's probably one of the more famous shows that's on in the bar. But my show is on sometimes. We're on Friday nights on Fox. And yes, so I do poker commentary on TV. I also do stand up comedy, although I would be lying if I said I made any money at it. I probably made more money at stand up comedy last year than like 99.9% of comedians. And I think I made like $800. Uh, so yes, those are my two jobs. That's my background is that I'm kind of a goofball for money, and yeah, I spend a lot of time on the internet like the rest of us, wasting my life, and I play video games. I like all these things that used to be nerdy, right? It was like, oh, you're a nerd if you like Marvel, and now if you don't like Marvel, you're a loser. It's totally flipped. It's not nerd stuff anymore. It's completely mainstream. Anyway, that's me. Hello.
That is a really interesting point. Like you just made me think about it too, like all the people that do the Twitch streaming now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's all turned on its ear these days. Oh, and I'm sorry, I wanted to talk about my t-shirt really quick, which is probably not the best thing to have worn on How to Be a Superhero Day. My t-shirt says disappointing my parents one day at a time. Now, I just want to say that it's kind of anti the message of this show. It's an ironic shirt, guys. That's all. I don't disappoint my parents every day. In fact, what's really cool about my life is my parents didn't even have to buy me this shirt. I can buy my own shirts and they say whatever silly things I want on them. And that's kind of me in a nutshell. Is I kind of just get to live the life I've always wanted to live as an adult, and it's really fun.
Yeah, I feel like that shirt is a whole different show.
Yeah,
I've
right.
I've got that shirt. That shirt could be its own podcast.
I'm going on the Dr. Phil show after
Yeah.
this about this shirt.
So let's talk about your parents, and you know what I mean. Like, let's do the deep dive. Um, yeah. So one thing about Joe is, well, Joe, I would. Do you want to talk about your superpowers that you think you have? Because I'm super excited to talk about what superpowers I think you have.
Yeah, I think I'd rather I think for first of all, I guess one of my best superpowers is how humble I am, and so I would much rather you tell me what superpowers I have rather than me be like, well, I'm the best at this and I'm the greatest at that and I'm super duper strong. I can fly. So yeah, no, I'd rather hear it from you.
Well, so I guess when I'm asking about superpowers, and that's a good point. I'm not so much thinking like things that you're like, oh well, I'm the strongest at this or whatever, but just some main qualities that you think have helped you through life and to excel at stuff. Because I do think that you have a great head on your shoulders and a great um what's the word, like you're very self-aware, like you're aware of what things have helped propel you forward. But so to name, I would like to name some of your superpowers that I think you have, and I do think that you're humble. One of the things that I've really appreciated and admired about you is, you know, you've had so many successes. You've had crazy amounts of successes and all these things that you've done, but you've still been able to remain the same person. Like I haven't seen it like go to your head at all. Um, and like for me personally, I so much appreciate that, and being able to have the same friendship with you that I had in high school, that to me is priceless.
Well, that's very nice of you to say, and thank you. Just one thing I will say in my, I'm okay. I'm very honest, and I will say that luckily, I'm not that famous. I'm not that successful. So, like, I don't think I've yet to experience like the sorts of things that make people change. Like, maybe I won't, but also like, I'm not a millionaire. I'm not like, when I go out places, I get recognized occasionally. Remember when people used to go out places? Anyway, when I go out places, I would get recognized occasionally, and by that I mean like once or twice a year. Um, I don't get like hounded places. I don't get my photo taken places against my will. And I understand why certain people change from that. But I would like to think that when that happens to me, if I get to that point, that I won't change much. Much. Like I'm gonna need to drink the most expensive water, whatever it is, and I'm gonna need it now. Okay? Stuff like that. I've earned it.
Well, I think that's great, and I think that um, I think that when you get to a point of greater success in your mind, that you will remain the same. Because I don't think it's to you, at least I personally think that to you it's not about the success, and it's just about the adventure and having fun with these different creative projects.
Well, yeah, and I've just been very, very, one of my superpowers is luck. Can you count that as a superpower? Because I've just been crazy, crazy lucky in my life. Do I think there's certain things that I have done along the way that have helped me get to be where I am? Yes, absolutely. Uh, by the way, when I say humble or humility, one thing I think that people are not humble enough about is how much of their success they attribute to good decision making on their part. Um, if I do have some nice qualities, and I do tend to be able to diffuse situations and to make people laugh and to be, people in general like me and therefore want to do nice things for me. Um, and so that I can recognize that, and some people might say, "Hey, that's not very humble," and you may have a point. However, where the humility comes in is thinking that like that I don't really have that much to do with that all the time, right? It's just lucky that I am this way. It's lucky that people feel that way about me. Yes, I'm nice to people, and yes, um, I try to treat people as I want to be treated, and I do think that that does end up in some real world success for me. But a lot of it's also luck and circumstance.
I think though it goes a really long way to be good to people. Like you brought it up when you were saying like I think that's really what has helped too because so like sometimes like some of these opportunities might be kind of random, but I think if you were going around like like a jerk, people would be
Yeah,
a lot less likely to help you, and be excited to give you these opportunities versus if you're
definitely.
if you're being good to people, which does take work. I think it takes work. A lot of people think that I'm just naturally like happy go lucky and just like friendly with everyone, and that it's I just wake up and everything is sunshine and rainbows. Not at all. You know what I mean? Like it takes work to sometimes to keep a positive attitude and be good to people. But so anyway, so what do you think about that? I mean, does that it seems to echo what you're
Sure,
saying?
it takes work, and I also, there are people out there who believe in something called manifestation, or sort of, otherwise known as the secret, right? Who think that your brain can actually change the world around you. And I'm not going to say whether or not I believe. Actually, I will. I don't buy into that exactly. No offense if you do. I don't really mind. It seems like a perfectly happy thing to think about. But I do believe in it in a very real way where I am super nice to my old friend Mike Tomeno, who then, when I go play a comedy club in his hometown, brings 4 or 5 of his friends with him. And then I feed off of that energy in the room, and I put out a really good performance because there's actually like a bunch more people that wouldn't be there otherwise. And then the comedy club owner is there, and he sees me killing in front of them, and he tells another comedy club owner that I'm worth booking, or he has like another club he owns in a different part of Florida, and he's like, "Hey, will you go do a week at that comedy club? Because I think you're a really killer comic." And now, because I've been nice to my friend Mike, like my career is advancing in ways that like I probably wouldn't even really think about. I would just think if I was like uh, a different type of person, I would think, of course, I got noticed at the comedy club because I'm the greatest comedian who ever lived, and I 100% am the person who did this, when really it was Mike being nice to me, Mike's friends being nice to me, a comedy club owner being nice to me, and all those things all happening together, which did require effort on every person's part. Yes.
I love that. Um, and so one of the things that I talk about a little bit in the book is just going back to the saying hi and how easy it is. The butterfly effect. How just one nice thing can just kind of go into so many other things. And that's why I think it's so important, because I found that with just being saying hi to people and just being good to people in general, that it's opened up so many doors that I never would have imagined. Um, and yeah, I really you gave such a perfect example there. I love that. And yeah, the whole manifesting thing too. I really want to do a deep dive. These are all the things that I really love to talk about, because I disagree too with the idea that you can just basically like will things into existence because you believe you can. But I think that if you focus on a goal and your mental your cognition is like totally like focused on like I'm gonna get this car, or I'm going to like make this happen, or whatever, or I'm gonna be a good person, then when you like kind of align the dots to make something happen, that chances are it makes it a lot more likely to happen
Totally.
versus
Totally.
something like because I know what you're talking about, and
Once
I've
again, the opposite is true too, right? Like if we look at the converse of it, whereas If you don't ever think about that car, you're probably not going to get it.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, how could you? You don't, it doesn't even exist to you.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I think about all that spiel. Like because I know what you're talking about, and I think that manifesting a car, like the universe, I don't think really cares about what I drive, or about like just like manifesting a car
Probably
like out of
not.
the out of whatever. But anyway, back to you. Um, um, so do you think you have any other superpowers, or would you like me to name some more?
Why don't you go again? Yeah, no, this is good.
um, Going back to the humbleness. But yeah, I so I personally think that you have had quite a lot of successes, but I think one of the reasons that you've had all those successes, not only because you've been, a good person and treated people well, because you've also stuck with it. You've also, I mean, I think you've put a lot of effort into it. I mean, you moved all the way to California and put yourself out there, and you keep pushing. Like I think where a lot of people would have given up, like you keep going.
Well, that's kind. Again, thank you. And one thing I will say, that's a good point, and I agree with you. And I have done what you've said. Right, I accept that summation. My advice to folks out there is to um, try harder than I did. I made like a half-hearted effort over a very long period of time when maybe I could have gotten more done had I made a wholehearted effort over a shorter period of time. It's hard to say, but I will say that when I moved to Los Angeles, yay, brave Joe just ran off to Los Angeles to follow his dreams. I wasn't really honest with myself or others with what those dreams were. Um, I told everyone I was moving to LA to be a writer, to be a comedy writer. Turns out, even unbeknownst to myself, wanted to also be a comedy performer. And I thought it was stupid. I thought being moving to LA being an actor was stupid and cheesy and people would make fun of me, but moving to LA to be a writer was noble. And so I just sort of disregarded this thing inside me that really wanted to be in front of the camera, that wanted to be on stage, and literally worked zero toward it because I didn't even admit I wanted it. And then as far as writing was concerned, I put in like 40% effort to be a writer. I didn't give it my all, and I think that was because I was afraid of failing at it. So I kind of just let life take me where it wanted to go. And lo and behold, despite not putting in a very good effort at all, but a long effort, I ended up becoming a performer and becoming a writer. And granted, the windows in which I perform and the windows in which I narrow are very write are very narrow at this stage in my life that are slowly becoming less narrow. But it was poker for a long time, and that's still 98% of what I do is poker. But we're had I admitted this sooner and or put in a more intense effort, maybe it would have ended up being a little bit more broad. We don't know. I'm very happy where things ended up, and I think there's still time for me uh, to do more things that I want to do. And so that's kind of where my focus is now.
Well, I'm I don't think you need to be. Well, I guess it kind of sounded like you're being a little bit hard on yourself, but I think that's a part of the journey. You had these ambitions and ideas of how things could possibly be, and then you kind of started to learn the reality of things and kind of adjusted. Um, and I mean, I personally think that you have really pushed through, because just, since I know your backstory a little bit and your time out there in LA, um, you're kind of just finding yourself because I think you moved there pretty much right after college. And so it's still really when you're trying to find yourself. And so you found you found that writing wasn't necessarily your thing, and found a better fit for yourself.
Yeah, well, yes. Eventually, we did land somewhere, and so I guess the lesson in that would be when you said that um, I never gave up. That's really the only way, in my opinion, you can fail at a lot of things is by giving up. There are certain things now. I don't think it applies to everything. I don't want to be a blowhard and says like that. It doesn't apply to everything. Sometimes you should quit. Sometimes you are wasting your time. Sometimes you like do need to figure out something else to do. But I think more often than not, if you continue to try to do something and put in the effort, that you will eventually find some version of it that works for you, as long as you don't give up.
I think that's a great message. Yeah, I completely agree because especially if you had kept trying to hammer in succeeding at writing when you know deep down realize that that's not exactly what you wanted to do, you know what I mean, then I don't think it wouldn't have really been good for anybody. But the fact that you were able to you know give it a shot, try hard at it, realize that it really wasn't for you, and found your different avenue. I think that and stick with that. I think that's pretty cool.
That's true. Being a writer drove me really crazy. I wrote for a show, it was a poker show, but it was like a poker like Sports Center style thing, and I was the writer, and the two there were two hosts. And when the show was really good, the hosts got all the credit, and when the show was bad, I got all the blame. And I was like, "Oh, being a writer kind of sucks. Like, if I'm gonna write, I'm gonna write for myself." And luckily, that's what I've been doing. That's what stand up is, right? That's what all my poker stuff is.
Well, so that's great. So you really did explore the writing too, and so I would say maybe one thing that really helped you is that um, you had the courage to explore all these different areas. Like you've explored doing the poker commentary, explored doing the stand up, explored doing the writing, versus like some people that might be like, oh well, I wonder what it would be like if I was a writer or if I did stand up. And instead of thinking about it, you just took the action.
Yeah, I wonder if the word, I guess, more than courage is just sort of perseverance. Because I will admit, there's certain parts of aspects of my job that require a sort of courage. But I think, what's weird is that I never considered giving up. Like, never for a second. Like, I don't know if that means that just, um, I think maybe like success always came in just enough increments. Like, one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got, and I think this guy's been canceled, like Me Too, unfortunately, but this guy gave me meaning unfortunate the thing he did, not that it's unfortunate for him. Um, he gave me this piece of advice: uh, savor the mini victory, and uh, it really meant that. So, like, I moved to LA, and I got a job as a production assistant, getting coffee and making copies and unlocking people's offices at 6 o'clock in the morning. And that was the best day of my life when I got that job. Um, and then I got promoted at that job from that office assistant to someone who worked in the research department, right? Who just like make videotapes all day long. And that was the best day of my life. And all of these things over the years, like enough has happened that I've been like, cool, something's happening. It's working. We're going somewhere. We're moving. The ship is moving, and it's moving very slowly, but I can just see the horizon often enough that I'm like, okay, we're going somewhere and I'm in it. So I never thought of quitting. I never even like it never felt that bad to me. It never felt like I oftentimes think about like I don't have a pension. I don't have I probably don't even have that much. No, I must have Social Security because I pay taxes, but um there's no retirement plan in my job. So I oftentimes think like, am I going to have to like at 45 or 50 years old, like go get an office job somewhere and have, so I have something to, will the money, will my luck run out at some point? Um, I do think about that, but I never think about quitting. I think about that it might quit me, but I never think that I'll quit.
I think there's a lot to that. Um, I there's quite a lot in all that because it's actually something that I think about a lot too. Since I've gone kind of the non-office job work, but
Yeah.
I um I personally think that if if I was to stop working when I get retirement age, that it would not be good for me. I think that I would start to get really lazy and probably put on a lot of
You're one
weight.
of the most least capable people I know of sitting still and doing nothing. Um, it's really annoying. I have no problem. Like I could watch an entire season of Deadwood and not leave my couch and have it be the best day ever. And you're the kind of person that you got to be out like doing stuff all the time, and it's super annoying.
I'm getting better at it.
You couldn't be retired. I don't think you could be retired.
Well, I think that it's important not to be because at least I worry that like when if I was to retire and even if I had all this money and just kind of just like sat around and you know didn't really do anything with my mind or my body, so to speak, that everything would just deteriorate like really quickly.
Yeah, I'm sure that happens. I believe that happens.
Like I think like watching one season of Deadwood wouldn't be too bad, but if you probably did that for a while, a few months of that probably wouldn't be
Oh,
so
my
great.
dream life. My
What really?
dream life.
Yeah. I would, I'd be worried. I'd be worried to see you after a few
No
months of that.
way. I would do like a walk down the block for fried chicken or something every couple days
There you
probably.
go. There you go. So then maybe it'd be good for you then, because then you'd if you had if you had tons of money, then you'd probably just have all your food and stuff like ordered to you versus if you don't have enough money, you're gonna have to actually go out to the grocery store and get that chicken,
Yeah.
and like have some movement.
Yeah, luckily I'm not rich enough to be fed yet or I might go
Yeah.
there.
All right. So um any other superpowers that you think you might have?
Well, there's the power of flight, invisibility, um, laser eyes. What else? I mean, I guess okay. I'll do one non-humble, my own superpower. I am really good at understanding how people feel. Um, Understanding why, not always agreeing with people, but understanding what makes a person feel the way they're feeling. Um, and most of the time, that makes it easier for me. It's a blessing and a curse, this superpower. It's really, really annoying when you want me to take your side over something, and I understand the other person's side. Um, so that can be a bit of a curse for, especially for people who are close to me, when I often disagree with them or present another side to something in a fair and logical way. Um, Having said that, um, people often confuse something having two sides as something having two equal sides. And I also am, this is probably not a superpower. I also am very capable of saying this is your side, but it is not an equal side. Uh, and that can sometimes upset people too. So I guess we're just gonna roll this into. I'm a pretty honest person. Um, I don't really hold back much. I don't. I am not a cruel person. Unless I'm specifically trying to be cruel. But I will never. I will never be cruel to someone and pretend like I'm just being honest. There are ways to present honest information, which oftentimes doesn't need to be presented at all, right? If I'm scrolling through Facebook and I think you don't look so hot in one of your photos, I don't have to be honest with you and tell you that. If you ask me, what do you think of this photo? I'll go, that's not your best photo, buddy. But that is neither cruel nor dishonest. So I'm good at being honest with people. I don't really tell white lies or make excuses. If you want me to go out to dinner with you and I don't want to go, I go, not feeling dinner. Thank you for your invitation. I don't say, like, oh, I'm not feeling well or I got something else going on. And then later you see me on Facebook, like dancing on a table. When you see me later dancing on a table, you go, I asked you to dinner. And I was like, I know I chose to go dance on the table. I don't mean to hurt your feelings, but like that's what I wanted to do. And that's what I went to do. So I am, I tend to, I think that there's selfish dishonesty, right? Where it's all selfish, I guess. There's dishonesty where you're like trying to paint yourself in a better light, and then there's a dishonesty where you try to paint others in a better light to spare their feelings. And I feel like they're both selfish, and most of the time isn't necessary, and causes longer term harm. So I just try to be as honest as I can with people about most things.
I would definitely say that's one of your superpowers and one of the things that I appreciate most about you because whenever I ask for feedback from people, it's so hard to get any kind of honest feedback or constructive criticism, or real insight. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times people just try to pander to what they think my feelings are,
Yeah.
versus if I ask for someone's opinion, if something is good or bad or what they think on it, if they don't actually tell me what they really think about it, then the feedback isn't useful.
Yeah, they're doing you a disservice if they aren't actually giving you proper feedback.
And one thing that I've really appreciated about you and your honesty is that sometimes well you know you are very blunt, and I've appreciated that from you because sometimes it's gotten me to think about things in different ways. Like am I really like this, or you're gonna be like it helps like bring me back to reality. You know what I mean? Like see things for how they really are. I don't know if I'm making sense on that
Or
point.
at least see things how someone, how things really are is kind of, we almost can't know how it is. But
That's true.
to you have your view of something and then someone else has their view of something and we don't know what reality is. It could be way over here, it could be here, but at least um this opinion of it shapes yours in a different way.
Yeah, like it helps me realize that maybe something that I thought I know, I didn't know quite as much as I thought. It helps me see a different angle on
Yeah.
something that I wouldn't have seen
But
otherwise.
that's actually a testament to you too that you're able to reconsider those things because a lot of people are very firm in whatever their initial opinion of something is and take offense at people challenging that.
I I would say that's the understatement of the century right there.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, but to each his own. People are still working on themselves. It is what it is. And I for one super super appreciate your honesty and how much amazing feedback that you've given me through the years and helped me think in different ways.
Can I tell you guys out there too that honesty, you sleep better at night. You just have a weight off your shoulder and it's for a totally practical reason. When you're honest, you never have to remember anything. Like you don't like you have to remember lies. You have to remember when Mike asked me for feedback on something, and if I told him I loved it, and then he's like, "What was your favorite part?" Or a year later is like, "Remember that thing that you loved? Like, can you tell me what you loved about it?" You're like, like it's just you don't have to have a memory when you just tell the truth, and you ever get that feeling? You ever like get an email or a text from someone, or someone pops into your room or your office, like, "Hey, can we talk for a minute?" And like all those thoughts run through your mind. You're like, "Oh no, like what could this be about? Like what did I do? Like what did I say about them? What did I?" You don't have to worry about any of that. You're just like, "Oh, okay, cool, sounds good." Like I don't say bad things about people behind their backs. Uh, and it's not that I don't think bad things about people. Of course I do. But I just never have to worry about that ever getting back to me to anyone because I just don't say it. I just don't. And if I do have criticism of someone, I don't care if it gets back to them because I'm not being dishonest. I would say the same thing to them. So being honest is like a really. It's just like it's very freeing.
I think too, it really helps to um helps with boundaries too. You know, like if you're honest, like being able to be honest with people.
Yeah.
Um
Oh yeah.
and I think I really, because I know for me, boundaries is a huge thing that I've had to work on, and you know, learning to speak up and be more honest, like with myself and with other people, and also to your point too, I think that you know when you tell lies, even small white lies, like it actually warps your reality. You know what I mean? Because
Oh
you're
yeah.
like when you're lying to somebody else, you're also basically lying to yourself, and then it's like you know what you start losing track of what's actually real.
Absolutely. Yeah. It totally was your reality. And I'll say this: when people say that someone tells a lie so long that they can't remember the lie from the truth, that is true. That is absolutely true. Like there are stories that I used to tell that I wouldn't call lies, right? They're like, "Oh, this one time such and such happened to me." That's like a story. Um, but I told it for so long that now when I tell it, it is as clear to me as any other memory from that same time period, and it never happened. But and it's also that your memory of the things that really happens deteriorates. So at some point, these things just sort of meet, and you have like the same recollection of both of them. It does warp your reality to tell a lie. So imagine if the lie wasn't just some goofy story, if it was something more serious, it can really mess you up.
Yeah, and then you don't really know what what really happened, like what's really up and what's really down, so to speak.
Correct. Correct.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. Um, Real quick, because I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm just curious of what superpowers you think I might have.
Well, Mike, you have unlimited energy. You have uh, a thirst for knowledge. You have a very and again, I'm not saying this is something that comes natural to you, but whatever it is that you're doing, putting effort into this, your sunny disposition is something that you take with you and inject into other people's lives. And I think for the most part, it makes a big difference to them. Even a big small difference, if that makes sense. A big difference in the moment that adds up over time. So I think that. Oh my God! And of course, you're the most loyal person I have ever met in my entire life. Just I don't know, like I don't always take loyalty as a compliment because sometimes it can come across. But you are just incredibly loyal friend, and I assume to all people, not just me.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, yeah, the loyalty bit is so interesting. I think because well, I think it just goes to like what you were saying. If you're good to other people, then people are going to be good to you, and you've always been so good to me. So like how can I not be good to you? And of course, also I really like you, but you know what I mean. Like if you've always been really good to me, so I mean I think that's one of the rewards.
Yeah, no, that's nice, but you're just a very loyal person in general. Like it doesn't really like that might explain our relationship, but it doesn't you can't explain my niceness away from how loyal you are to other people and things. So, um, you know, you probably still wear that same Green Bay Packers jacket from 30 years ago because you're loyal.
Or I just don't want to buy a new jacket.
Yes, you're loyal to your frugality also.
Yeah, yeah. That's
You
so,
do know how to stretch a penny, I'll tell you that much. I don't know if it's a superpower. I was going to leave that part out, but I've never seen a guy get by on less and still have a home than Mike Tomeno.
yeah. That's oh man. You made me think of that too. Like when you brought up the jacket, because yeah, I mean to me it's like why do I want to buy a new jacket if my old one works? But yeah, I am pretty good at stretching a penny.
Even if the lining is completely moths, it still keeps me warm. Don't need a new one.
I've I've gotten better at it, although
Okay.
um, maybe not that much better.
He
But
said wearing a shirt he sewed himself.
yeah. So this shirt, this shirt as well. I think I had this since high school.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
To be honest. But so I wore it though, like in the picture that I had that I've been using for all my branding. So I figure keep using it to try to keep it familiar. But I mean it's a good shirt. Like why get rid of it?
Nope, it's
Um,
perfectly usable.
yeah. But oh man, you just made me think of so many things. But yeah, I guess it's a little quirk of mine. Um, but yeah, thank you so much for all that insight and for being on the show. Um, I think I think we've had a great show. And if is there anything else that you'd like to add, like for wrapping up?
Yes, I would like you to listen. No, I'm good. Thank you. I do not follow me on Twitter. Do not follow me on Instagram. Do not interact with me on Facebook. Do not listen to any of my podcasts or come to any of my stand-up comedy shows. Um, unless you're over 18 years old. Okay.
So what's the easiest way for people to find you if they're over 18?
They can find me on Twitter at Stapes, on Instagram at InstaStapes are probably the two best places to interact with me.
Awesome. Well, Joe, as always, it is uh, an absolute pleasure getting to talk to you, getting to catch up with you, getting to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for doing the show with me. I really appreciate having you on. I really appreciate you as a human being, and what a great person you are. Thank you so much for everything.
A pleasure, Michael. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. All right, everybody, have an awesome day.